Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we can be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. To another edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zhu and P. Bush. How you fellas doing?
Good, man. 1-3 in fantasy leagues this week one. Kind of a crazy. There were just a lot of studs that came in as duds, man. I mean, just an unbelievable amount of like wide receivers that were drafted so high. You go from Drake London to Amon-Ra to Marvin Harrison Jr., just doing absolutely nothing. And then you had some of the quarterbacks that just absolutely came in and destroyed kind of some of the guys that we talked about last week, Jaden Daniels, Anthony Richardson. But it's overreaction time, man. This is the time of year for fantasy and for fans of their respective teams. They say, oh, drop that guy. He ain't even worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like you saw a bunch of that with Kirk Cousins. That was kind of a big one. Bring in Penix was kind of the trend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, this is the time of year to take advantage of some desperate people in fantasy leagues and point fingers on Twitter to fans of various teams. So that time.
What I love about this is the guys who actually do like the, what do you call it, fantasy stuff where they're doing Patreon and they're doing a bunch of like subscribe to this link. All it is just a bunch of, to your point, overreaction, talking about like, hey, can you do you want to, for instance, I'm not getting any trade seekers out here, but Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy that everybody's on right now because I think people who watch the game know Daniel Jones can't really throw it down the field, but they know he can throw underneath. So like Wan'Dale's stock is going up. It's just, to your point, it's just a lot of overreaction. So. Yeah, so I don't know how much of that you heard, but we're just talking fantasy.
I heard it all. I had little technical difficulties, but yeah, overreaction Monday. But thank God for David Montgomery, man. I was breaking out watching that last game. I never been more stressed in a fantasy football game in a while now since a championship game in the playoffs. Oh, Sean, I was cooking, and then Puka got injured. The world was ending. I had Puka Nacua, David Montgomery, and Jared Goff. I needed like 30 points to get the W. I was like barbecue chick. I got 3 guys get 30 points. Puka dies. Jared Goff looks like a shell of himself. David Montgomery keeps getting sub out for Jahmyr Gibbs. Got the goal line tutty. I was freaking out. Game went to overtime. David Montgomery freaking just trucked all the way down. Got the tutty. Thank you, D-Mon, for saving my season in the first.
Miss All Reliable.
I'll overreact and save my season because I could not take a loss when I drop 130 points and taking an L. Man. I could not take that loss.
Yeah.
Shout out to David Montgomery. Shout out to him. What a
true workhorse.
He's a workhorse.
That is a positive sign too that he's getting the goal line carries. I love that. That's why I picked him up, and I have stock in him in one of my leagues because I just knew he's going to get the goal line carry. So yeah, fantasy overreactions is one thing, but what we're going to be transitioning to is actual NFL week 1 overreactions. And I think we kind of wanted to start on a positive light. So P. Bush, what are some of the things that I guess you would overreact to in a positive light that you saw from the weekend?
I got to say, I mean, I know they were playing the Raiders, man, but I was actually impressed at how the Chargers came out. I mean, it's exactly kind of what we expected. Justin Herbert being the game manager. He kind of got screwed on that touchdown. Should have been an easy touchdown to Josh Palmer, but he just didn't react in time, but that running back room is going to be very interesting. If any of you guys have been listening for years, I had J.K. Dobbins on my Dynasty League. And for him to come back in the first game and not only finish the game, but finish it with authority, 135 yards on only 10 carries, 2 huge gashing runs, and a nice touchdown. He deserved that, man. He could end up being a very dynamic player in the AFC if he can stay healthy. And I think, an overreaction, put it that way, is that the Chargers could be in the AFC wildcard hunt this year. I think they could be. Their defense is legitimate. I think Herbert can do enough with the weapons that he has. Hell, even Quentin Johnston caught a couple balls, man. He didn't have any drops in this game. He had one contested catch that would have been really difficult for him to make. But then the man goes out and gets in a fight with Josh Palmer, man. So I don't know how that wide receiver room is going to look, if there's going to be any suspensions or fines, or if they have announced it already. But yeah, I was just, I guess, impressed with the Chargers. I think it's just going to be a grinded out season, and a lot of teams can't handle that. They want to run and gun, and I don't think LA is going to allow, and Harbaugh specifically is going to allow them to do that.
Yeah, I like you pointing out the Chargers. I got a shout out to rookie on the Chargers, Ladd McConkey.
Yes, sir.
Ladd McConkey. This is a wide receiver room that it's a little muddled. We don't know who the number one is. Quentin Johnson sucked last year. Josh Palmer is a vet that never been that elite guy. Ladd McConkey is a
Wes Welker.
Yeah, like this guy was not a typical X receiver. Like he's not the stereotypical looking X receiver. So this guy coming out leading the team in targets, 7 targets, and got a touchdown in his first NFL game. He's one of the few NFL wide receiver rookies that showed up, unlike a number 4th overall pick that had a disappearing act. Ladd McConkey showed up. So, yeah, shout outs to him for showing up for Justin Herbert, because this guy is in desperate need of weapons. But
he needs
losing all his vets from last year that he's had for majority of his career. So the Chargers, I agree with you. The Chargers, they took care of business, man. But for me, I already know that I was hyped about this guy in the beginning of the year. But after watching that game, Josh Allen, holy moly.
Yeah, he's brought him back.
He putting this team on his back. Like, this is like Cam Newton-esque as a game. Because, like, not going to lie, I bet the Cardinals for the upset in this game. Because I saw the 6.5 spread. I was like, okay, I think this would be a pretty competitive game. Especially, I think the Cardinals' offense is drastically improved with Kyler Murray. Pretty much, he's healthy this year. And he got a bunch of weapons. And James Conner is healthy right now. So this offense, I feel like, with the Buffalo defense, I think deteriorating compared to last year.
A little bit, yeah.
I was about, okay, this game's gonna be a shootout, and I feel like in a shootout, a 6.5 point spread, I'm gonna take the Cardinals for a little juice on the money line, and they were taking care of business. And then Josh Allen, just my goodness, some of his superhero heroics in the red zone. This guy, as I said, I love James Cook. He's a nice little Dalvin Cook's little brother. He's a good back, but Josh Allen's the goal line back, and that guy is special in the red zone. And he was pretty efficient as a passer, 18 for 23. It wasn't
that was surprising.
Yeah, 18 for 23. He had 232 yards, and not too crazy passing yards. But on the ground, this dude's got 39 rushing yards along with 2 rushing touchdowns. And, like, pretty much they went with the balanced attack of James Cook, who's a smaller back, with 19 carries. Like, 19 carries. This guy, like, they were rushing the football. That is like their new offensive like mindset now, where they rely more on the rush instead of Josh Allen flinging the football down the field. Because right now, he just got a bunch of guys on his team, like Keon Coleman, the rookie. He got 51 yards, so shout out to him. Like Khalil Shakir, like Mac Hollins, and old Dawson Knox. Like Kincaid was pretty invisible this game. I thought he was going to game.
That was
like kind of surprising. I was kind of surprised, but he was out there. But like Curtis Samuel came in injured too, so he legit got a bunch of guys on his team. And the Buffalo Bills took care of business. Like I think Cardinals this year, I'm thinking about a nice, like an average team. I'm gonna put them in an average team, and for them to come back in the second half, like 14-0 in the third quarter, and pretty much
back in on the Bills, Zhu?
Yeah, I've always been on the Bills. I've never been off the Bills, man. Josh Allen's my MVP, and after week 1, he's on track. But I need you to maintain this. No interceptions, Josh. Limit the turnovers. Can't give the defense some free.
He fumbled.
Nope. Yeah, the fumbles, got to control the fumble. So those are the 2 key points I keep focusing on for Josh. But he looks phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal as a quarterback. Like, he is elite.
And you said it. He's kind of changed his character as a player, and I think that's the big overreaction on that is if he can, thinking that he can maintain this, right? I mean, you're talking about 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. We did point out last week that the Cardinals have one of the worst defenses, if not the worst in the league.
They probably have a bottom 5 defense.
And if I remember, was that at Buffalo?
Yeah, it was at Buffalo.
Yeah, it was at Buffalo.
So, a bit of a positive overreaction, but also, like, we got to keep an eye on the Bills because they're getting shootouts with one of the worst defenses in the league.
And without Marvin Harrison being good. Like, he only had 1 catch. Like, which is
they double-teamed him all
kind of weird.
Yeah, they
double-teamed him, and Kyler missed him.
And Kyler missed him for a tutty, so if Marvin got the pass and he caught the ball, that would have erased his entire 4-yard performance, which is atrocious. Just atrocious.
Like, you got to figure out something like some wide receiver screen, something to just get the ball in his hands.
Just get him the ball moving. Like, you got to keep your wide receiver 1 like happy and keep him in the game.
Did a good job of that, even though my money line pick went to crap. But like the Jets did a really good job of just getting Garrett Wilson the ball in space. Like, not saying they're the same type of players, because Garrett Wilson is like way more twitchier. But like, I just like how they just got him the ball in space. But yeah, to your point, Josh Allen, the one thing I will say though is like, injured his left hand. I don't want it. It's week 1. Like, I do hope throughout the season he starts to trust his weapons more, because if he thinks he's going to be doing this Superman running in, like, I know he is going to be the goal line back, and that's why I would take him in fantasy, because he's just going to get you 30 points probably a game. But it's like, that's not going to last if he continues to do that, because you're just going to end up getting injured. And if Josh Allen is compromised at all, that team is just not any good. Like, I don't think there's any situation where a compromised Josh Allen is going to be able to get them to the playoffs. So it is a good sign seeing Keon Coleman make catches. Gonna need, even though I don't have any shares in Dalton Kincaid, gonna need to see him get the ball a little bit more. They got to figure out something, because I think he's a vital weapon for them. Vital weapon for them. So part of my thing is like an overall view of the AFC conference, just from what I saw and what I loved. I know the Chiefs played on Thursday, and it's like, it's the ring ceremony. It's all the feels of that. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, like everything's just centered around the Chiefs, and we all watched the game, and that's one of the better games of the first weekend. But I feel really good about the AFC quarterbacks, like focusing on Stroud, Richardson, Josh Allen, who we just mentioned, Lamar, and Aaron Rodgers a little bit. Not really, but a little bit. But focus on the other 4. I do think the Chiefs are clearly the best team in the AFC, but I think it's going to be a dogfight. Mm-hmm. I think what I saw from CJ, like, one thing I was scared about is like sophomore slump. He may come out a little sloppy. No, he's on point. Like, him having to Stephon is an upgrade. Nico Mixon, making plays down the field. Go ahead.
Mixon and having a true running game.
Those carries. Yeah, like, he's basically their workhorse back. I'm excited about that team. Part of the reason why I had them in the AFC Championship game. Richardson only completed 9 passes, but you just see the arm talent, and his coach is like the perfect marriage with him. So to me, I just think he's going to continue to ascend, because I always feel like the guys who have that extra boost of athleticism in the pocket and can make plays outside the pocket, that just puts stress on the defense. So I just think he's going to continue to get better. Like I said, Josh Allen, we saw what he was doing. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to be good. Lamar, like, he's a gamer. Like, he's a gamer. Like, they literally was like a half of, like, I guess like a big toe from tying it up. And I think they were going to win.
Kevin Durant toe
away, literally. I think a big toe away from scoring a touchdown. And I think they were going to win that game, because they were going to go for 2. Yeah. And I think they just would have been Lamar backyard football. They would end up winning the game. But besides the point, I like how they fought. Isaiah Likely, I've been
you keep hyping this guy up. He looks legit.
I've been screaming, like, where's the 6'4", 6'5" receiver that can just be an outside playmaker? But it's like, well, maybe it's just a tight end. Now, if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm a little nervous about Mark Andrews, because it's like, what's going on there? Like, he kind of was not invisible, but he wasn't really being involved a lot in the game plan. So if he takes, a step back and Isaiah is like the guy, like, okay, that's fine, but I would like to see if both of those guys are still making impact plays. And Zay Flowers is a good player, but I just think that the AFC this year, and really quickly on the Jets, I know they got blown out by 49ers last night, and it does feel weird sometimes that it's like Aaron Rodgers, just feel like late in his career, it's like when he comes back, it just seems like the defense on any team he's on, they just forget how to play. It just feels like they just forget. There's never like with Tom Brady when he was winning his championship, their defense was always on point. But it feels like when Aaron gets healthy and he's playing, the defense they just forget how to play. They just relax. I don't know if that's a mental thing. Yeah, it's just weird.
They couldn't stop the run. Like Jordan Mason looked like CMC out there. The dude trucked over everyone. He was incredible.
Barely
it's incredible run.
Like, I would chalk that up to is week 1. I just refuse to believe the Jets defense is that bad. And credit to the offensive line of the 49ers. I mean, Trent Williams back, and they got guys.
Yeah, they got guys.
But I did listen, I know us three have kind of looked at Lazard as just like, he's Aaron Rodgers' dude. But like, he made some catches last night. And if he continues to just make 3 to 4 catches and be somewhat of an impact, him and Garrett Wilson, along with, we already know what Breece Hall is. Like I said, I like the potential of that team. I'm just speaking to the fact of, I like the quarterback play of the guys who, like Anthony Richardson had questions. CJ Stroud didn't really have questions, but it could be a sophomore slump. Just the questions around all these guys, I think they're going to give the Chiefs a run for their money. And I like that. I do like that. The Chiefs are definitely the best team right now, but, like I said, I mean, Xavier Worthy is like, come on, bro. Like, this is now they're not fighting fair. But I just like that those quarterbacks showed something. So it's like, okay, whenever the playoffs come, that's going to be a matchups that we could be looking at, and it could be something that could maybe upset the apple cart.
My question for you though is, I know Lamar Jackson's stats on paper look pretty good. Obviously, he rushed over 100 yards and has a lot more passing than usually.
I don't love that though. I don't love the over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Lamar Jackson, when he's like, I got to win now, he relies on his legs, and that is definitely not sustainable throughout the season.
No.
And his passing sometimes still kind of shaky. Like a couple of deep passes, he missed a couple throws that could have been potential touchdowns and stuff like that. So, like, obviously missing Zay Flowers wide open. Pat, I know as a Zay Flower owner, not fun at all. Missing Likely.
Touchdowns.
Yeah, missing Likely, and that one obviously just missed him completely. So he had multiple opportunities on that one drive to get it done. And you can't just say, oh, it's the defense, because those were guys that got open and you did not put your receivers in position to catch the football. And obviously that last play was terrific when he got the ball to Likely. He just needed to get his toe down. That was a terrific play. But those two throws before, he had opportunities and he didn't get it done.
He did have opportunities. He did.
Like, I feel like I've seen this story before. Like, every time I watch Lamar, just it's right there. It's right there. He's so close every time. He can't break through. He can't.
People gotta remember, it's the Chiefs. Like,
it is.
It's the Chiefs. Like,
but that's who you gotta beat.
It's the Chiefs.
You gotta beat them. You're in the AFC. You're in the NFC, man.
But that's
you're in the NFC.
Nobody's beating the Chiefs. That's the problem. Like, it's the same answer for all the That's why that's kind of going into my point of like the AFC guys. Like, I think there's a chance. Not saying, do I think Anthony Richardson is going to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying the progression of how he looks, even though it's very early in his career. CJ Stroud not taking a step back. Like I said, Lamar in that game, I just feel like he's a gamer. Josh Allen, like, these guys are like on schedule. So to me, it's going to make it just interesting for when it gets to the playoffs. Like, not even just focusing on Lamar, like, and I guess you focus on Lamar because he played Patrick, but there's a variety of options that could maybe upset the apple cart with the Chiefs. And that's all. And it starts with the quarterback play. Like, to your point, and I was thinking the same thing during that time when I saw like Lamar on that last drive. But then I was watching, like, not film, but I was like watching a guy talk about that play. And it's like, for us looking at it from the end zone view, it's like, oh yeah, he's open. But it's like, that throw, he was claiming, like, and I can't remember who it was. This guy,
it was Rashad Bateman. Like, he thought he was going to sit.
And it's like, you can't, like, that. You think you can make that throw from our naked eye because we're watching it and it's like in slow time. But it's like, if you throw that, like, the DBs are gonna convert. I do agree he should. I thought on that drive he should have used his legs more. I don't like the 100 yards throughout the game. I don't like him running around. And credit to Steve Spagnuolo, like, he's just an elite defensive coordinator, but it's like, I don't like him running and getting 100 yards throughout the game because, like you said, it's not going to last. Same thing with Josh Allen. Like, he's 6'5", 250, but he's already got an injured left hand. Like, if you think you're just going to be in the goal line back, I don't care how big you are and Lamar's a quote unquote 205 now. So it's like, he's a lot smaller than what he was. To me, you should be running to get first downs, get down to make plays when it needs to be made. But I don't need you rushing for 20-something yards because, I mean, another kind of weird thing was Justice Hill was getting more run than Derrick Henry. And I was never high on Derrick Henry.
That was
never high
on him. Game script, though. I mean,
yeah,
when they were in
the
game,
did he look great when he got the ball? Did he look great when he got the ball? He looked okay.
He wasn't as a third down back. He looked what? A third down back, yeah.
I mean,
he was very productive.
I think he'll be great when it's like goal line and when they need a yard. But in terms of him being a impact 1,000-yard, I think those days are over. He did not, and I know it's the Chiefs defense and it's the first night, and it like I said, it's no reaction. But I think he'll be all right. But to your point, I don't like Lamar running a lot to where he's getting 100. I just think that's bad because you're going to get injured. This league punishes guys who run a lot.
And Sean, that could also feed back into Derrick Henry, the fact that coaches, owner, whoever talks to Lamar and says, hey, we're fine with you running and scrambling when you have to, but let's not make this a consistent thing. We got to give the ball to Derrick Henry. You know, like, he's the guy that we're paying to be the bruiser, not you.
I like their other back. He's nice, team, whatever his name is.
You know, so yeah. I mean,
but
go ahead, Sean.
No, I was about to say that's. I mean, I guess that was kind of not. It's not part of my negative, but that was just kind of finishing off. To finish off the point about the quarterbacks, I just like the quarterbacks in the AFC. I think it's going to give the Chiefs something to sweat about a little bit if the guys keep improving. But what were some of your the hate you saw from week
negatives? Man, it's got to be those old quarterbacks coming off injuries, man. You were just lauding a little bit about Aaron Rodgers. I did think he made some really good throws to Lazard there.
He looked better than I thought. He looked better than I thought for a guy that hasn't played in a year.
However, most of his throws were checkdowns. Most of his throws were in the pocket. He had one throw outside the pocket all game. That is not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the rollout, dynamic, throwing on the run. He can't do that anymore. So you're talking about really limiting the down the field play. I think it's going to hurt a guy like Mike Williams, because he just can't stand in the pocket for as long. Yeah. Now, granted, the San Francisco pass rush is legitimate, right? So it's not like he was going to have all the time in the world, and there might be games where he does. But I think we need to see a little bit more. And also, he loves playing out of the shotgun. Zhu, that is his bread and butter. That's when he starts flinging it. But with Breece Hall, your best player, being in the backfield, they're going to run a lot of under center, and that is not up to his standards, right? I think that's not really how he's like to play. Aaron Jones was always the guy that stood next to him in Green Bay. It was very rarely under center. That's kind of how he's been his whole career. Now he has a legit running back, so you're going to kind of see Rodgers be more of a game manager. I guess I was just more down an overreaction negative. This might affect the big playability of Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams if you're shareholders of those guys. And just the dynamic aspects of their offense overall. I think they're going to do fine, but I think it's going to limit them a little bit. And then the last point, along the same lines, but even worse, Kirk Cousins, man.
God.
If you're a Drake London or Kyle Pitts,
Lord, emergency, baby.
To be fair, of all the if you look at the top 10 tight ends drafted, Kyle Pitts actually had the best day. I mean, Isaiah likely sure, but he was either very late draft pick or he as a flyer, or he's undrafted and he's on your waiver and everyone's gunning for him this week.
Yep.
But Kyle Pitts, I thought he actually, he was big in the red zone, right? They did have that one throw. And I know the Steelers defense, when they're completely healthy, is legit. I mean, they are ridiculous. TJ Watt is an absolute animal. He is, I would argue he's on par with his brother, JJ Watt.
He might be a little better than his brother. I don't know.
Maybe depends
a little how long he plays, but
Watt was more of a game wrecker, I think. But TJ Watt is just as good as a pass rusher, for sure. But man, I mean, do you think we're going to see a little Penix Jr. earlier on? Are we over?
They took him for a reason. Maybe they knew something that they signed Kirk that contract. They see him and like, ooh.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. And maybe everyone remembers that video of the GM of the Falcons whispering to the Falcons owner being like, this is why I drafted Penix. Maybe he said something along those lines. But, it's also very possible that once again, week 1, first game off of injury, his offensive line is a concern, but once again, a great pass rush. But I think my biggest overreaction here is I'm switching my pick of the division winners to the Bucs, man, because I think that they could end up having a better season than the Falcons.
Baker Mayfield looked
Baker
nice.
looked good.
Yeah. Mike Evans
once again,
Mike
Commanders.
Commanders.
But still.
Yeah. It was a really bad defense, but okay.
So Falcons.
For Falcons, yeah. Agree with that, man. But for me, it's a little personal one. It's injuries. And I got to start off. Happened a little early on Friday night. Jordan Love's injury.
Oh yeah.
Oh my! When I saw it, I was like, oh, and it was at the last minute of the game.
Second
too.
to last.
It was at the end of the game. I was like, it didn't even to end it like that. Jordan Love, obviously, he missed. It wasn't an ACL or an Achilles like that. It's not season ending. So because this is a team that had playoff aspirations, and some people picked them to go to the Super Bowl. There were some high expectations for this Packers team this year to make that leap after beating the Cowboys last year in the playoffs. Jordan Love, obviously, he played all right. I don't think he played that great, but he definitely played all right. And they were in an extremely competitive, pretty fun watching game, Phillies with Packers. It was
a good game.
Shootout. Jaden Reed had some great plays. AJ Brown, Saquon, looking like vintage Saquon. So we got
Christian
a lot.
Watson.
Yeah, Christian Watson had
scored a touchdown.
That's a nice slant tutty. He still could continue his tutty machine. Christian Watson's a tutty machine. But we saw some elite skilled position players, and we saw some picks. We saw a little of everything in this game. So it's such a shame that this guy just got his new contract. He gets injured in the first game, and he's probably out. I don't know, maybe
4 to 6.
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks. We don't know the timeline. And the problem is they don't have a backup like Tyrod Taylor, who he could fill in and be at least
Malik.
average. You got Malik Willis. And my brother, that
I'm gonna need
dude,
Matt LaFleur to earn his money.
He's
gonna have to earn his money, man.
No, Josh Jacobs needs to earn his money.
Well, that too, yeah.
Yeah, like they're gonna have to change their entire offensive game plan with Malik Willis. First of all, I don't know why they traded for him. Like, why they trade for Malik Willis? I'm so confused.
I don't even know what they gave up for him. Probably like
it was like a late, it was like a
6 or 7.
Yeah, it was like one of those super late picks. But I don't know why they got Malik Willis. Second of all, Malik Willis. Like we got a little preview of Malik Willis on that last play. Absolute disgraceful. So I'm like,
the ball off.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Like it's so like I'm like the Packers passing offense is dead. It's dead, man. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. I'm out now. Like we got a sweet glimmer. Like this would have been one of the top 10 offense this year. Like it's over now with Malik Willis under center, and they're going to be just rushing the ball with Josh Jacobs.
Give me that Josh Jacobs.
Like, but the problem is, I don't know they're going to be in the red zone with Malik Willis under center.
True.
Like, I don't know. Like, Josh Jacobs had a really slow start, but in the second half, he had a little burst that we saw in Josh Jacobs right now. So, like, they got this guy as a workhorse. So, like, okay, make your money now because Malik Willis throwing the ball, like, it's going to be painful. It is going to be painful to watch these games with Malik Willis under center. They're probably going to try to use him as like a running back, like AKA Justin Fields style / early Jalen Hurts style, like use him as a rusher as a weapon because him as a passer, like
he's got a cannon, he's just not accurate.
Yeah,
I will say this though, like this is a Green Bay like point, and I love their head coach. Like, why can't he just be like a game manager? Like, we had the same conversation about Jordan Love when he first came out. Like, what is he going to do? He looked like crap against the Chiefs, and then he progressively got better. If Matt LaFleur is given time, and Malik Willis, it's not like he's just devoid of talent. He got drafted really high. Now, I know it was a bad draft, but, like, if you watch his college highlights, he's got a live arm. He's athletic. Like,
at Liberty.
I don't think he'll be Jordan Love, but he could be maybe serviceable.
I mean, I think I think he can – he came in and showed flashes with the Titans, right, in the past. Not that he was going to be a great quarterback. There's a reason they drafted Will Levis. But I think it's more so the fact that he's only been with the team for 2 weeks.
Yeah. He doesn't know the game.
That'll be the
chemistry. The chemistry with the coach as well as the wide receivers and tight ends. I mean, the chemistry's not there. His confidence, I mean, he's all the pressure in the world, just to all of your points. This was supposed to be a top 10 offense. This was supposed to be in contention with the Lions. They were supposed to be, potentially running for the NFC crown.
Yep.
And now he's being asked to go 500 over the next 5 to 6 weeks because that will save their season. I mean, they have to exit this at least. Let's say he misses 5 weeks. They have to finish this at least 2-4, which means he has to win 2 out of 5. Right. And I don't know their schedule, but I know who the NFC North is playing, and they're playing a couple decent, they're playing the NFC West this year. I forget who they're playing in the AFC, but the AFC South, right? That is not a joke. So, I mean, that's why I don't think he's going to come in. Maybe in like a game or two, he'll be fine as a game manager, but this next game, he's going to be trial by fire, man.
Like the Colts. I feel like the Colts defense are going to have a show again.
Yes.
I'm streaming,
especially in his first game with this team. Like it'll just
and Zoo. It's supposed to rain that weekend too. Man.
Oh Lord!
So it might be the Josh Jacobs show.
Okay, John, I'll take that. I took him early in a couple of drafts. He better show out, but this is time for him to shine because the quarterback, he's down. You got to step up as a running back.
But I agree. I am out on the Packers.
It's such a shame.
It might be a good time to buy low in like a week or two. Or if you really want to buy low, you should probably just buy right now because you could probably get Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Zoo. We'll talk about that after.
Down.
We'll talk about that after Zoo. I might be gunning for a little Christian Watson, but I mean, I just think it's a wait and see with kind of Malik Willis because they don't really have another option.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely would try to. I'm with you on the buy low stuff. Jaden Reed though might be still hard to get because he's a gamer.
Dropped a nuke.
He's just good.
He got a little Debo in him, man.
Yeah, he got that.
They use him like that.
He just has a knack of getting in the end zone. He's extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
Which your people are showing up the Falcons. I mean, all respect to Ray McCloud. He's been in the league for a while and was a punt returner, and now is getting moments as a receiver with the Falcons. But if he's your leading receiver, like, it's just we can't have that. So I'm just hoping that is a week one mirage. But
one thing, I think we got to be positive about Bijan here, though, because he's still
had a good game. Oh, he produced, and so the offense did nothing.
He's going to be like, I think if you're a Bijan owner, you're very safe in this, because even if Kirk or Penix, whoever's at the helm the rest of the season, and they can't throw the ball or can't get pass protection, Bijan is so dynamic that he's not having the same. It's a reassurance that it is not the same thing as last year. I think that is a positive in a week of negatives for Atlanta.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I just when I was looking at the scores yesterday, I was like, wait, Ray was the lead. It just threw me off. I just thought that was like a misprint.
Not even Mooney,
that's insane. Yeah, like nobody on that offensive front outside of Bijan, and Kyle Pitts had his moment, but I've been telling y'all, I'm just fool's gold for me. I need to see 3 to 4 weeks of him going and getting 10 to 15 fantasy points for me to jump on that bandwagon. But the Falcons, they scared me a little bit. But I wrote down these 4 teams. I wrote down.
I know one of them.
The Panthers, the Browns, the Giants, and the Bengals. And
the Bengals, there it is.
I wrote down those 4 teams because those are the 4 teams where not only did you lose in week 1, but it looks bleak. It kind of looks a little bleak. Like, starting with the Panthers, it's so hard to judge Bryce because I don't know if it's the system, his weapons, or is he just not that good? Like that first pass or whatever first pass on that drive, it's like,
man. I think it's all three,
I was like, man, it just looks like it's just not connecting for him. I just feel like it's not connecting at all. So, for me, that is a little worrisome. Let me see what else I wrote down. Let's say the Browns. Deshaun threw the ball 45 times and had 165 yards, I think, and was it a touchdown and 2 interceptions? There's no scenario where you can throw the ball 45 times and not reach over 200 yards.
Justin Fields could do
Cowboys
that.
defense. We'll probably but I don't even know. I mean, that's just, I don't care who you are. That's just really hard to do, man. That's just hard as hell to do. So that is very worrisome because it's your quarterback, it's your main guy. And part of the reason why I've always been on the Deshaun bandwagon is because I feel like there's a lot of quarterbacks in the league who just get a lot of adulation and praise and they're kind of mid. But it's Deshaun has proven he can get to a higher level. But if he can't get to a point where he's even looking Amari Cooper's way, or if he's, I think, did Njoku get hurt? I think he got hurt in that game.
Yeah, he got hurt. Sure. And he gave Amari 9 targets and he only had 2 catches.
Yeah.
9 targets.
Those Deshaun targets, man.
Now, I did have Jerry Jeudy in one of my leagues, and he might end up being a nice little flex option for him. It might be a nice little flex option, but that's scary. Cowboys, I understand their defense is crazy. They're crazy. They're crazy good, but it's still overreaction, so that's tough. Bengals with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase wants to be paid. It's just he needs to be paid, and I don't know what the holdup is because they're not going to pay T. Higgins. What are we doing? If you can't pay Jamar Chase, then he's going to have. I know he had 6 catches for six something yards, but he just looks like he's just out there to be playing because he has to.
Yep.
Joe Burrow's
just doing this all day.
Yeah,
his wrist ain't 100.
Yeah, they did say that was going to be an injury that lingers. Yeah. I didn't think it was going to be that early in the season, but that's very worrisome because it's that's your franchise guy, and it's the Bengals, so you probably have a little bit of PTSD of oh shoot, is our star quarterback about to be hurt, and we're about to go back to the bottom of the barrel. Who else did I say? Giants. That Sunday solidified that the owner is in love with the quarterback and that relationship that he has with Eli Manning. That little love triangle that was proven because Daniel Jones does not be they should have been moved off him. It's ridiculous. I
don't know how Malik
waste a year of Malik Neighbors. They're gonna waste a year of him.
I don't know how of all the rookie wide receivers, he was still one of the better ones. He had 5 for 61 compared to Rome and Marvin, but Brian Thomas Jr. did the touchdown. But
it's just what are we doing? You guys are just get off that contract. And I guess those are the 4 teams I had. Those teams, seeing them lose, it's other teams lost, and it's okay, they lost at the beginning of the season, but it's it doesn't look bleak. But those 4 teams, it looks very bleak right now. And if I had to pick one that looks the worst, it's probably the Panthers. Because I just don't see it with Bryce. their defense is always solid, and they got torched by Derek Carr. It's like, where do we go? Like, if our defense is not our calling card in Carolina, then what is it? What is it?
Well, all I'll say is I'll take the 33rd pick in the draft, man. We got the first overall, second round.
Yeah.
We still got another one coming our way.
Like, that's scary. And it doesn't help when CJ's destroying teams too. Like, I mean, he didn't destroy the Colts, but he just looks really good. So that's probably where it's like the bleakest of bleak. And a lot of people don't like your owner either. It's just Charlotte may need a reset. But it is week 1. We are overreacting, and teams
I got to point out some
better.
of those teams that you mentioned. I don't think we're overreacting about the Panthers. I think this would be a reoccurring theme. Them getting their ass whooped every single week. Every Sunday, a little ass whooping.
Come on, man. I live in the Carolinas, man. Come on, bro.
I'm telling you, that ass whooping every Sunday.
Yeah.
All Zhu was saying is, if you want to target the teams, just look at Carolina's schedule and add their defense to it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, because I had the Saints in a couple of leagues, and they did some beautiful work. So shout out to the Saints for getting it done. And I got to agree with you on the Giants. I feel like those two teams, like, I'm going to give the Browns some time to see them settle down, because they played against a good team in the Cowboys, but like, make it like Sam Darnold looking great out there, and the Danny.
What? Like, what?
I told you he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine.
I don't believe that's another one.
They play the Giants. I need to see them play a real football team.
Okay, sure. Their defense is not as bad as like the Cardinals, the Commanders. The Giants have some dudes on defense.
Okay, it was Daniel Jones throwing the football, and it was him missing a lot of throws. Yes. So, like, I have to give another week to judge when they play a real roster. So. Yeah. Those two teams, I believe, are probably going to be fighting for the number 1 pick this year. So good luck to them fighting for the number 1 draft pick and finding a quarterback of the future. But yeah, the other teams, I'm going to give those teams some time still. Give those other teams some time.
Yeah, but, I agree with you on that. So, man, that was our week 1 overreactions, good and bad. We're going to kind of maybe shift it a little bit to where we won't be doing that every week. But just kind of want to give you guys a layout of how we felt about week 1 in NFL. And now we will be turning to page 2, our best bets.
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
And P. Bush, you can go ahead and start us off. I know last week I don't know how you're Jaden and who is it?
So here's the thing, and I want to caveat this. I'm giving you my initial thoughts on this podcast, right? It's subject to change throughout the week, whether it be injuries, things like that to take into account. The T. Higgins one was a big one this past week. The Jaden Daniels, the one that ended up paying off was the one I actually ran him naked. I didn't start Terry McLaurin with him because McLaurin didn't do anything. Mike Evans had a great week. Joe Mixon and Kamara both had Mixon had a great week. Kamara had a good week. The play of the week was Derek Carr. If you had Derek Carr and Rashid Shaheed, man, they were the cheap difference makers to pay off that were very low owned. And to Zhu's point, maybe you just target the stack against the Carolina Panthers every time, but then you're at risk of starting the stud wide receiver like an Olave, and he did absolutely nothing. Crazy. Another guy that really fell off that we didn't mention yet this week. So just early thoughts for this week, man, for daily fantasy. I like a handful of stacks. I like Dak and CD against the Saints, Goff and Amon-Ra. I think they can make a decent comeback against the Buccaneers, who – the Commanders didn't really throw the ball downfield, but the Bucs can get blown up on. Anthony Richardson's always a good one. Daniel Jones against Washington could actually be he's the cheapest starting quarterback. But I'm going with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, man. Just an absolute stud of a combination against a good defense in the Detroit Lions. Well, now, Zhu, they're going barbecue chicken against the Arizona Cardinals, man.
It's going to be a shootout.
Another shootout. Obviously got to target those two, man. They just looked in sync with the Puka Nacua injury. And Cooper Kupp is now still, even after that game, 21 targets and the Puka injury, he is still the 5th most expensive. There are a couple guys like Jamar Chase that are more expensive than him. Justin Jefferson. Both guys who, sure that they're still studs in their own right and they're younger, but their situations are a bit more shaky. So I was surprised at the pricing this week.
Especially Stafford as the quarterback. Wow,
exactly.
Injured Joe Burrows and a Sam Darnold.
And it is an expensive stack, so I'm actually including Colby Parkinson, their tight end. He actually gets a decent amount of targets. He's one of the cheapest starting tight ends you can play with him, so I like that triple stack. And then, as I told you guys last week, I always kind of bring it back with a guy on the opposing team. I'm buying into Marvin Harrison Jr., man. They didn't change. They lowered his pricing week over week by about $200. They were not happy with how he played last week. I think you can take advantage for a guy that he's got a little chip on his shoulder. I'm sure he talked to Kyler and coaching staff after the game. And
I hope so.
To your point too, they're probably going to be playing from behind a lot of this game with Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp probably scoring most of the touchdowns there. So Marvin Harrison, a couple other guys to sprinkle in. I like Henry versus the Raiders. I brought that up earlier. I just think the game script, it's exactly what the Chargers did last week. I think Derrick Henry can take advantage there. And Chris Godwin, another guy. Just pick on him because Cooper Kupp destroyed in the short game against the Lions on Sunday night. I think Chris Godwin is the guy to play on the Bucs this week against a potential shootout as well and playing from behind. So just a handful of guys, kind of mix and match there. They all are in one lineup for me, along with a handful of others. But that Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, man, that's good value because Dak and CD is very expensive. He's the most expensive wide receiver this week.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that because watching that Sunday night game, I got flashbacks of the Cooper Kupp Triple Crown year because he was toe tapping, he was making every catch, he was getting targets and just getting open. And getting open every single possession. It was incredible, especially with Puka Nacua, how the entire offense in the passing game was going to be centered around Cooper Kupp, but he was still able to get it done for his team.
And it is worth knowing, Zhu, that will likely be the highest ownership stack. So if you want to be competitive, you should probably have one lineup with these two guys in here because everybody's going to be up on them with the pricing, Matt Stafford being cheap still, as well as Cooper Kupp in relative terms for how many targets he's potentially looking at. So you might want to go with a cheap option as a secondary entry, but I think you got to have some Matt Stafford and Kupp in there, man. At least Kupp.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure on Kupp.
For sure. For me this week, last week was a little futures just because I got to shout out Josh Allen. But this week I'm going back to my spreads, man. I'm going back to the spread picking. Last week, if I would have picked the spread, it was obvious. Chiefs, baby. Chiefs Kingdom. Chiefs Kingdom. But this week, I'm going to go with another quarterback head coach that is just a beautiful union. Harbaugh and Justin Herbert to cover the 6.5 point spread. And I thought that was a precursor, that ass whooping, because this is going to be by double digits, baby. Double digits. This Chargers team, like obviously the Raiders ain't that much to worry about, but they showed me that run game that I needed to see. Because I knew that Harbaugh is about offensive line play in the trenches. Like, obviously, we know about the Gus bus. J.K. Dobbins was the wild card. Oh, he still got that speed, man. He got that bolt in his step with the rushing for 130-plus yards, only on 10 carries for that tutty.
Devon-esque.
Dude, seriously, he showed that speed. Like, I'm so happy for J.K. Dobbins because this is a guy out of college that he was this guy was highly cited, Ohio State running back. They got a nice pedigree of running backs, and just injuries keep derailing his young career. And week one, he looked sensational. And I feel like Harbaugh, as a coach over Brandon Stanley, like I got a real head coach in there that like he's probably like, yo, I got Justin Herbert, and this is supposed to be their rebuild year. Obviously, a new coach, new system, everything. Yeah, I'm going to give him this is their rebuild year, but I got Justin Herbert as my rebuild. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. And I think they're just control the ball, rushing the ball, and I just want Herbert to be a game manager. You don't need to light it up against the Carolina Panthers.
202 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need him to be Justin Herbert, go superhero mode. Just be a game manager, kind of like what you did last week. I don't need no big bombs down. Like, Dink and Dunlap, McConkey, maybe Quentin Johnson can catch a football. Like Josh Palmer, hopefully he can catch some more footballs for him. But that's what they need to do. And with the two-headed monster that they got, I think they control the pace of the ball and pretty much control the pace of the football and let Bryce Young do Bryce Young things. 161 and 2 interceptions. I want to see that again. I want to see that defense against Bryce Young again. And pretty much, I know Bryce Young probably got a little chip in his shoulder after getting absolute massacred by the Saints. And Derek Carr looked like an MVP in his first game. Like, Derek Carr,
come on, man.
When have we seen Derek Carr that good?
Never.
It's been a while. It has been a while. Alvin Kamara went off. Derek Carr went off. Like, they got absolutely embarrassed. But I feel like this embarrassment has just started, man. Sorry, Panthers fan. I got some Panthers fans saying, like, man, I think this thing could go over this year, man. Panthers had lost a lot of hope. Lost a lot of hope. and I'm going to snatch that whole ball because they're going to start 0-2. They're going to lose by a tutty. Man, I see 6.5. I thought it was going to be 7. I thought it was going to be
surprising.
7 just for a tutty. But
Zhu,
6.5.
You might want to buy some points there, get you even better odds, man. Take like an 8.5.
No, just get the juice. Just get
or 9.5 if you think they're going to win by 10 points. I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah, like for me, this is an easy play. Even though the Panthers at home, easy smash. Let's go Chargers.
I think the only way is the reason why it's maybe that 6 is the cross country thing. Maybe that kind of messes with them, and it's like they don't get the I guess get it by 10 or 12 or something like that. Like it might be a little bit closer, but yeah, I'm with you. It's based off of week 1, you bet anything against the Panthers. It's just you're whatever you're like. Say you got a stack in your fantasy league, their defense. You got any type of betting odds. Like the Panthers are a good bet. But last week, just going back, I'm not gonna lie. When I was watching the game last night, I've just thought. Now, go back a little bit. When I was looking at Breece Hall in that first play and he fumbled, I was like, well, here comes the blowout. And for a minute, it was like, oh, maybe the blowout's not going to be there. And it actually ended up happening. So I kind of missed on that. I will be using the Jets in a couple of future bets because I just think that had the potential to be really good. But this week, last year when the Bucs and Lions played, it's like 20-6. You look at that game, it's like, oh, they got blowout, they got beat, whatever. But we kind of said it already in the pod this week that Baker's playing well. And you can tell he's got chemistry with Mike Evans. He's got chemistry with Godwin. Rashad White looked way better than I thought he would look. Burke Irvin coming off the bench, spelling him. Defense is hit or miss, whatever. And I know it's the Commanders, so it's just kind of tough. They were playing a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
But looking at how God played, this past weekend, I've always said, like, the key to them to getting to the Super Bowl and actually winning the Super Bowl is Goff's going to have to play a little bit above his head. And I'm not saying I didn't I was just like, I think Goff's like, he's just bad. I just don't think he's any good. But I think he could play better. So for me, I kind of like the momentum of what Baker and Mike Evans has, that chemistry. And I kind of like them to cover the spread. But if you're feeling like, I got a little bit extra money and I'm feeling confident, I mean, you can throw a little money on the money line. I think they're going to be motivated after, Detroit. Because I always feel like people always say stuff happens in a season last year. And it's like, oh, they're done. It's a new team. But no, like Baker's still there from last year. Mike Evans is still there from last year. Chris Godwin is still there. A lot of those guys who had that loss last year are still there. And they think about that. Like, I think in their head, I know everybody's like, well, whoever thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to go to the Super Bowl or championship game? I'm sure in that locker room they thought they did. So them losing that game, I think they're going to be motivated to at least keep it close or try to win that game. So I like them +7, and I think their money line is +270 at a lot of places. And full disclosure, I always say, like, I always try to pick plus odds because like you make a little bit more money. And one that I just saw a couple minutes ago, which just came on my timeline, I guess you would say, the Bills being +2.5 against the Dolphins. Like, I was reading a report that A-Chain looks like he's kind of iffy. Mozart looking iffy. Like, I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen, we saw what he was doing last week. I don't know. Now, I know Miami came back against Jacksonville, but at the beginning of that game, Miami kind of came out a little, like, sluggish a little bit. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it's just hungover from the day before, night before, whatever. But I kind of think Josh Allen, now, you're taking your rookie receiver and Dalton Kincaid didn't get involved. Like, they kind of were non-factors. Not Keon Coleman, but him being a rookie and then Dalton Kincaid not being a non-factor, maybe they factor that in. But it being +2.5, I mean, I think they could keep it close. I really do think they can keep it close. And two, you want to maybe be a little risky, throw something on that money line there too. I think Josh Allen could will them to a victory because I think they understand that anytime you're playing a division game, and same could be said for Miami, this early in the season, you got to have this. You got to have this. And it being on the road, I think Josh Allen understands, like, we need to get at least one of these. Because, one could say, well, they could afford to let this go because Miami's coming back probably in November or something, and it's going to be colder, and that's probably going to be a guaranteed win for the Bills. But it's like, it's nothing like beating your division opponent early in the season to set a tone. And if I'm picking quarterbacks I trust more right now, I mean, I trust Josh Allen way more than I trust Tua. Not to say Tua's a bad player, but it just feels like anytime And this is not part of the betting segment. That's just another smaller rant. It's like if Tyreek Hill had a Patrick Mahomes like level arm strength, like quarterback, I think he would just like we talk about what he does with just Tua's, arm strength and what he has, his arm talent. But like if he had like a real just push it down the field, like imagine Tyreek Hill with Anthony Richardson once he starts maturing, like
Or
just
Stafford.
that ability to just get it down. Yeah, or even Stafford, a guy who can just get the ball vertically down the field. Like Tyreek would be reaching ungodly numbers, which he already does now, but still. But yeah, I'm trusting Josh Allen a little bit more. I just think he's a little bit more of a better play. That. 2.5 plus 2.5. I think the money line's like 170.
Man, that 2.5 though, man. Oof.
Yeah. It might jump. It might jump to like
Sean.
3 or something. Yeah, it might jump to 3. It might, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. It might actually go down because the Miami running back.
Because both Raheem and Devon A-Chain are banged up. So
hope you got your Jalen Wright stock.
Yeah. Oh, that Jalen Wright insurance. Or
hope you got him. But yeah, those are the two type of bets and see if we can get back. I think the most confident I feel about is the Bucs one because I think they're going to be a little motivated. Baker lives for stuff like this. Like I know it was 20-6, and he's like, oh, whatever, we only can score 6. I think he's going to be fired up to play this game. So we're going to see if they can maybe cover that spread or get you plus 270. So, but yeah, those are our bets for this week. Like I said, I'm going to try to be a little bit better. I'm going to try to give you guys more options. And to, as the week progresses, there will be some bets that I like to put into the show notes. So if you're paying attention to those show notes, you might find something else that I find intriguing, and I'll put it there. So make sure you guys are tuned in for that. Like I said, we are full force into the NFL season. We are, week 2 ahead. We are making sure that all of the content, whether it's the guys that are playing well, the guys that are playing bad, are being covered on these social media sites. So for Instagram, Tyson Talks _, YouTube, Quantrill Knows, Spotify, Apple. We also can listen to an audio version. I'm trying to figure out to get us on YouTube. So maybe if depending on your browser, you can just listen to the audio version of us on YouTube if you're not a visual person. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you give us a 5-star review, on all audio and video platforms. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And for me, Zhu and P. Bush, we are out.